Another black thug thinking he can walk into my station. Officer Craig Mitchell's fist slammed into the black man's throat. He drove him backward. The man's skull cracked against the wall. Plaster exploded. Dust rained down. Mitchell spat at his feet. Your kind doesn't belong here. The man didn't scream, didn't beg. Blood trickled from his hairline, but his eyes held something Mitchell had never seen before. Not fear, something worse. In less than 90 minutes, 4 words from this man's mouth would drain every drop of color from Mitchell's face and end his career forever. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. Get your hands off me. The black man's voice cut through the chaos of shift change, calm, controlled, like he was ordering coffee instead of being choked against a wall. Mitchell squeezed harder, his fingers dug into flesh. What did you say to me? I said get your hands off me. You don't give orders here. Mitchell yanked him forward and slammed him back again. More plaster crumbled. I give orders, you follow them. That's how this works. Officers in the lobby turned to watch. Some smirked, some looked away. A sergeant carrying coffee saw everything. She kept walking. Nobody intervened. Nobody ever did. I'm here for tomorrow's ceremony, the black man said. His windpipe was being crushed, but his voice didn't waver. 8 a.m. The mayor's office sent me. Mitchell laughed. The sound echoed off tile and glass. The mayor sent you, some random thug in street clothes. My name is Marcus Thompson. I have an appointment with your captain. You have an appointment with my fist if you don't shut your mouth. Sergeant Linda Wilson appeared from the back office, 18 years on the force. She read the situation in half a second and moved to block the exit. Problem, she asked Mitchell. Trespasser, claims the mayor sent him. Wilson's eyes swept over Marcus. Black, 40s, civilian clothes, no visible badge. She'd seen this before, handled it before. Bring him to IR3, she said. I'll start the paperwork. Mitchell grinned. You heard her. Move. He released Marcus's throat and grabbed his arm instead, twisted it behind his back, pushed him toward the hallway. Marcus went without resistance. His steps were measured, deliberate. The walk of a man who knew exactly where he was going and exactly what would happen when he got there. They passed storage, records, break room. They stopped at IR3. Interrogation room 3. Mitchell shoved Marcus through the door. The room was small. Metal table, 3 chairs, camera in the corner. Red light off. No recording. Sit. Marcus sat. He placed his hands flat on the table, visible, non-threatening. His breathing stayed even despite the bruises forming on his throat. Mitchell circled behind him. Classic intimidation. Wilson closed the door and leaned against it. Let's try this again, Mitchell said. Why are you really here? I told you, tomorrow's ceremony. What ceremony? 8 a.m., swearing in. Your entire command staff will be there. Mitchell slammed his palms on the table. The crack echoed like a gunshot. Marcus didn't flinch. There's no ceremony tomorrow. I would know. Would you? Something in Marcus's tone made Mitchell's jaw tighten. This wasn't right. This man wasn't scared, wasn't nervous, wasn't doing any of the things people did when they sat in this room. He just sat there, waiting, like he was the one in control. Check his pockets, Mitchell told Wilson. She moved forward, pulled out Marcus's wallet, his phone, his keys. Unlock it, Mitchell said, pointing at the phone. No. That wasn't a request. And that's not happening. Fourth Amendment. Mitchell grabbed Marcus's collar, hauled him halfway out of the chair. Their faces were inches apart. You want to talk about amendments? How about the second? How about I put a bullet in you right now and call it self-defense? Marcus met his glare without blinking. You won't. Try me. You won't because you need to know why I'm here. It's eating you alive. A black man walks into your station with no fear, Claims he has an appointment with the mayor and doesn't beg when you put your hands on him. That doesn't fit your script. Mitchell's grip tightened. His knuckles went white. So you're going to threaten me, Marcus continued. You're going to hurt me, but you won't kill me. Not until you understand what's happening. You think you're smart? I think you're scared. Mitchell threw him back into the chair. The metal legs scraped against concrete. He was breathing hard now. His face was red. The control he prided himself on was slipping. Wilson watched from the door. Her expression hadn't changed, but her hand had moved closer to her radio. Who are you? Mitchell demanded. I told you, Marcus Thompson. That name means nothing to me. It should. Mitchell froze. What's that supposed to mean? Marcus was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Softer. Heavier. 3 years ago, this room. A man named Damon Thompson sat in this exact chair. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. He called 911 because he was having a panic attack. He was scared. He asked for help. 2 officers responded. They called for mental health services. Mitchell's face had gone pale. Wilson's hand was on her radio now. Then you arrived, Marcus said. You and Sergeant Wilson. You dismissed the mental health team. You brought him here. You turned off the camera. Shut up. He begged you to stop. He told you he couldn't breathe. He cried for his mother. I said shut up. You beat him for 7 minutes. Then his heart stopped. Then you wrote it up as a medical emergency. Natural causes. Case closed. Mitchell lunged across the table. His hands wrapped around Marcus's throat again. This time he squeezed with everything he had. You don't know anything, he hissed. You weren't there. Marcus's face was turning red. His eyes were watering, but his voice still came out strangled but clear. Damon Thompson was my brother. Mitchell's hands loosened. Just slightly. Just enough for Marcus to keep talking. And I've spent 3 years waiting for this moment. The door burst open. Officer Tyler Brooks stood in the doorway. 24 years old, 6 months on the force. His face was white. Sir, you need to stop. Get out, Brooks. Sir, I checked the schedule. There is a ceremony tomorrow. 8 a.m. Mayor Anderson, City Council, State Representatives. Mitchell released Marcus's throat. He turned slowly toward Brooks. What did you say? It's on the internal calendar. Swearing-in ceremony for the new chief of police. The room went silent. Wilson's hand fell away from her radio. Mitchell stared at Brooks like he was speaking a foreign language. That's impossible, Mitchell said. Walsh would have told us. We would have been briefed. It's there, sir. I printed it. Brooks held up a sheet of paper. His hand was shaking. All confirmed. Mitchell snatched the paper. Read it. Read it again. Then he crumpled it and threw it at the wall. Get out. Sir, he's injured. He needs... I said get out. Brooks didn't move. His eyes went to Marcus, to the blood on his face, to the bruises on his throat. Then he did something that would change everything. He pulled out his phone, and he didn't put it away. Mitchell was too focused on Marcus to notice. Wilson saw it, but said nothing. She was calculating, running scenarios, figuring out how to survive whatever was coming. The door closed. Brooks was gone, but his phone was still recording in his pocket. Mitchell turned back to Marcus. His face was gray now. The confidence was gone. The swagger was gone. All that was left was fear. You're lying, he said. His voice cracked. This is some kind of setup. It's not a setup. It's a test. A test? Marcus stood slowly. Blood ran down his face from where Mitchell had slammed him earlier. His eye was swelling shut. His throat was a mess of red and purple bruises. But he stood tall. The mayor wanted to see how this department treats black men who walk through the door. He wanted to see if the complaints we've been receiving for 3 years were accurate. He wanted to see if the culture had changed since my brother died in this room. Mitchell backed up until he hit the wall. So he sent me, alone. No badge, no identification. Just a black man in civilian clothes walking into a police station during shift change. Wilson's face had gone white too. She was running the math. Camera footage, witness statements, Brooks's phone. Everything Mitchell had done in the last hour. "You attacked me in the lobby in front of 30 officers," Marcus said. "You dragged me to this room without reading me my rights. You turned off the camera. You choked me. You threatened to kill me." He stepped closer to Mitchell. "And you did all of it because I'm black. Because you looked at me and saw what you wanted to see. A thug. A threat. A problem to be solved with your fists." Mitchell was shaking now. His back was pressed against the wall. There was nowhere to go. "Who are you?" he whispered. Marcus stopped directly in front of him, eye to eye, inches apart. "My name is Marcus Thompson. I'm a Marine Corps Medal of Honor recipient. I spent 6 years as an FBI crisis negotiator. And tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I become Chief of Police of this department." Mitchell's knees buckled. He slid down the wall and sat on the floor. His face was white, completely white, like someone had drained every drop of blood from his body. "The first thing I'm going to do," Marcus continued looking down at him, "is reopen my brother's case. The second thing is arrest everyone who covered it up." Wilson bolted for the door. "I wouldn't run," Marcus called after her. "FBI agents are in the parking lot. They've been there for an hour. Every exit is covered." Wilson froze with her hand on the doorknob. "Deputy Chief Walsh is on his way here right now. He's about to find out that the mayor isn't answering his calls because the mayor is already in the building." Wilson's hand dropped. She turned around slowly. Her face had the look of someone watching their life collapse in real time. "This is entrapment," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "This is justice." Marcus walked to the door. He paused with his hand on the handle. "My brother Damon called 911 because he needed help. He trusted that the police would protect him. Instead, you killed him in this room and erased him from history." He opened the door. 3 years I've waited. 3 years I've planned. 3 years I've built a case that will put every single person involved behind bars." Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Multiple footsteps, moving fast. "That case is complete now. You gave me the final piece tonight." Mitchell looked up from the floor. Tears were streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he choked out. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean—" "You're sorry because you got caught." Marcus looked at him one last time. The man who had killed his brother. The man who had just tried to kill him. The man who thought his badge made him untouchable. "Damon was kind," Marcus said quietly. "He was funny. He loved building model trains. He was scared that night, and he reached out for help and you beat him until his heart stopped." The footsteps were closer now, voices calling out, authority in their tone. "You took him from me, from our mother, from everyone who loved him, and you went home that night and slept like nothing happened." Marcus touched his swollen eye, looked at the blood on his fingers. "Tonight, you don't sleep. Tonight, you sit in a cell and think about every person you've hurt, every life you've destroyed, every lie you've told." The footsteps stopped outside the door. "And tomorrow morning, you watch me take the oath you broke 100 times. You watch me become everything you're not." Marcus opened the door wide. FBI agent Rachel Turner stood in the hallway with 3 agents behind her. Mayor Thomas Anderson was with them. Deputy Chief Walsh was already in handcuffs, his expensive watch catching the light, his face the color of ash. "Chief Harris," Agent Turner said, "are you injured?" Marcus looked back at Mitchell one final time. "Not as badly as he is." He stepped out of IR3 and walked toward his future. Behind him, Mitchell sat on the floor of the room where he'd killed Damon Thompson 3 years ago. His face was white. His career was over, and the brother of the man he'd murdered was about to become his boss. Agent Turner took one look at Marcus's face, and her jaw tightened. The cut above his eye was still bleeding. His throat was a canvas of purple and red bruises. His left eye had swollen nearly shut. "We need medical," she said into her radio. "Conference room A, now." "I'm fine," Marcus said. "You're not fine. Your evidence." Mayor Anderson stepped forward. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. "Chief Thompson, I'm sorry. I should have been here sooner. You're here now. That's what matters. We heard everything." Anderson looked past Marcus into IR3, where Mitchell still sat on the floor. "Brooks patched us into his phone. Live audio. Every word." Marcus nodded slowly. "Good. The FBI recorded it too," Turner added. "Backup systems. Multiple redundancies. There's no way they can claim this didn't happen." Walsh struggled against the agents holding him. His expensive suit was wrinkled. His perfectly styled hair had fallen across his forehead. He looked like a man watching his empire crumble. "This is entrapment," Walsh shouted. "You set us up. This whole thing was a setup." Marcus turned to face him. They'd never met before tonight, but Marcus knew everything about Raymond Walsh: his bank accounts, his offshore holdings, his payments from Vincent Taylor, every dirty dollar he'd ever taken. "Deputy Chief Walsh," Marcus said calmly, "you have the right to remain silent. Don't you dare. I'd suggest you use it." Two agents led Walsh down the hallway. His protests echoed off the walls until a door slammed shut and cut them off. Turner touched Marcus's arm. "We need to get you cleaned up and document your injuries. Photos, medical exam, everything by the book. After." "After what?" "After I see the evidence room." Turner hesitated. "Chief Thompson, with all due respect." 3 years. Marcus's voice was quiet but iron underneath. 3 years I've waited to see what they did to my brother's case. I can wait another hour for a bandage. Turner exchanged a look with Mayor Anderson. The mayor nodded once. "All right," Turner said. "But Agent Bennett documents everything along the way. And you sit down the second you feel dizzy." "Deal." They moved through the station as a group, Marcus in the center, Turner and Bennett flanking him, Mayor Anderson behind. Officers stopped what they were doing to stare. Word had spread fast. The man Mitchell had attacked was the new chief. The man Mitchell had attacked was Damon Thompson's brother. Some officers looked ashamed. Some looked scared. A few looked relieved, like they'd been waiting years for someone to finally do something. Clara Williams met them at the evidence room door. 62 years old, 25 years in dispatch. She'd seen everything that happened in this station, and she'd kept records of all of it. "Chief Thompson." Her voice wavered. "I'm so sorry about your brother. I'm sorry I didn't do more." "You kept the logs," Marcus said. "You preserved the evidence when everyone else was destroying it. That took courage. It took fear. I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't. Fear can be courage too." Clara unlocked the evidence room door. The fluorescent lights flickered on, illuminating rows of shelves. Boxes, files, the accumulated debris of thousands of cases. "Damon's file should be in Section C," Clara said. "That's where closed cases go. But I should warn you, it's been altered." Clara nodded. "Sergeant Wilson had access. She went in 3 times in the month after your brother died. I logged every entry." "Show me." They walked to Section C, row after row of boxes, each one representing someone's worst day, someone's tragedy, someone's loss. Clara stopped at a shelf near the back. She pulled down a thin folder and handed it to Marcus. The label read, "Thompson Damon, case number 47291. Status closed. Natural causes." Marcus opened it. The folder was almost empty. A single incident report, a medical examiner's summary, a signed statement from Mitchell claiming Damon had become violent and collapsed during restraint. That was it. 3 pieces of paper to explain away a man's entire life. The original file was 47 pages, Clara said quietly. "I made copies before Wilson got to it. I have them at home." Marcus looked at her. You kept copies. I kept copies of everything. Every case Wilson touched. Every report that didn't match the radio logs. Every time something didn't add up. Why didn't you come forward? Clara's eyes filled with tears. Because I was a coward. Because I have grandchildren. Because Walsh made it very clear what happened to people who talked. She wiped her face. Your brother deserved better. They all deserved better. Bennett stepped forward. Mrs. Williams, we're going to need those copies. All of them. I'll get them tonight. Everything I have. Marcus closed the empty folder. His hands were steady, but something in his eyes had changed. Hardened. How many? He asked. Clara understood the question. 43 cases over 3 years, all involving people of color. All closed as natural causes or justified force. All with evidence that went missing after Wilson accessed the files. 43. That we know of. Could be more. Marcus set the folder down on the shelf. He stood there for a moment looking at the rows of boxes. 43 families who never got answers. 43 people who died or were hurt or had their cases buried. 43 times this station had failed the people it was supposed to protect. Chief Thompson. Turner's voice was gentle. We should get you to medical now. One more thing. He walked back toward the front of the evidence room, past the shelves, past the boxes, to a door at the far end marked restricted access. What's in there? Marcus asked Clara. Long-term storage, physical evidence from major cases, clothing, weapons, biological samples. Is my brother's evidence in there? Clara hesitated. It should be, but I don't have access to that section. Only Wilson and Walsh had the codes. Marcus turned to Turner. Can you get us in? We have a warrant that covers the entire station. Bennett. Bennett pulled out his phone and made a call. 3 minutes later, a federal technician arrived with equipment. 5 minutes after that, the door was open. The room beyond was smaller than Marcus expected. Climate-controlled. Shelves lined with sealed evidence bags, each tagged and numbered. Case 47291, Marcus said. Where would it be? They searched, row by row, shelf by shelf. Bennett documented everything with his camera. They found it on the bottom shelf in the back corner. A single evidence bag covered in dust. Like no one had touched it in years. Marcus picked it up. Inside was a shirt. Blue. Size medium. His brother's favorite color. The shirt was covered in dried blood. Marcus's hands began to shake. For the first time all night his composure cracked. His eyes filled with tears that he didn't try to hide. The report said natural causes, he said. His voice was barely a whisper. The report said he collapsed during restraint. No excessive force. Turner looked at the shirt, at the blood, at the pattern of stains that told a very different story than the official report. That's not natural causes, she said quietly. No. Marcus clutched the bag to his chest. That's murder. They stood in silence. Even Bennett stopped taking pictures. Some moments were too sacred to document. Finally, Marcus placed the evidence bag back on the shelf. Carefully, gently, like he was putting his brother to rest. Process everything, he said. His voice was steady again. The tears were gone, replaced by something colder. Every piece of evidence in this room, every file Clara copied, every recording Brooks made. I want it all ready for the grand jury by end of week. It'll be done, Turner said. And I want Wilson brought to conference room A. I have questions. Turner nodded and spoke into her radio. Marcus walked out of the evidence room without looking back. Conference room A was larger than IR3. Long table, multiple chairs, a screen on the wall for presentations. When Marcus entered, Mayor Anderson was already there along with Bennett and 2 other federal agents. Marcus sat at the head of the table. Someone had brought a first aid kit. He ignored it. Where's Wilson? He asked. Being brought up now, Turner said. Mitchell is in holding. Walsh is being processed for transport to federal custody. Good. The door opened. Two agents led Linda Wilson into the room. Her hands were cuffed in front of her. Her face was gray. The confident woman who had blocked exits and falsified reports was gone. In her place was someone who looked like she hadn't slept in years. They sat her at the far end of the table, across from Marcus, 20 feet of polished wood between them. "Sergeant Wilson," Marcus said. "Do you know who I am?" Wilson didn't look up. "You're Damon's brother. I'm also your new commanding officer. As of midnight tonight, I have full authority over this department. As of tomorrow morning, that authority becomes official." Wilson said nothing. "You have two choices right now. You can lawyer up, stay silent, and take your chances with a federal jury. Based on the evidence we've already collected, you're looking at 20 to 30 years. Wilson's head lifted slightly. "Or you can talk to me. Tell me everything. Every case you altered. Every file you touched. Every order Walsh gave you. And maybe the prosecutor considers that cooperation when deciding what charges to file." Wilson's lawyer, a nervous man in a cheap suit who'd arrived 15 minutes ago, leaned in to whisper something. Wilson pushed him away. "I want to talk," she said. "Linda, I strongly advise. I've been silent for 3 years." Wilson's voice cracked. "I'm done being silent." Marcus leaned forward. "Then tell me about my brother." Wilson closed her eyes. When she opened them, tears were streaming down her face. "He was scared," she said. "When they brought him in, he was so scared. He kept saying he couldn't breathe, kept asking for help." Marcus's hands gripped the edge of the table. His knuckles went white. Mitchell was angry that night. Something had happened earlier, I don't know what. He was looking for someone to hurt, and Damon was there. "What did Mitchell do?" "He put him in IR3, turned off the camera, told me to watch the door." Wilson's voice dropped to a whisper. "I heard everything, every hit, every time Damon cried out, every time he begged Mitchell to stop. And you did nothing. I told him to stop. I said we should call medical. He said 5 more minutes. He said Damon needed to learn respect." Marcus's jaw was so tight it looked like it might shatter. 7 minutes, Wilson continued. "That's how long it took. 7 minutes, and then Damon stopped making sounds. Mitchell came out and said we had a problem. A problem. He said Damon had a heart attack. He said it wasn't his fault. He said we needed to clean it up." "So you cleaned it up?" Wilson nodded. "We called Walsh. He came in within the hour. He looked at Damon's body and he didn't even flinch, just started giving orders. Change the report, alter the evidence log, get the medical examiner on the phone. Dr. Harrison." Walsh had something on him. I don't know what, but Harrison signed whatever Walsh put in front of him. Bennett was taking notes furiously. Turner was recording everything on her phone. Mayor Anderson looked like he was going to be sick. "And the other 42 cases?" Marcus asked. Wilson's face crumpled. "Some of them I knew about. Some of them Walsh handled without me. But they all worked the same way. Someone would die or get hurt. Mitchell or one of the others would write up a report. I'd adjust the evidence logs. Walsh would make it disappear. One of the others. There are 4 officers who did what Mitchell did. He was the worst, but he wasn't alone." Marcus looked at Turner. "Names." "I'll give you all of them," Wilson said. "Every name, every case, everything I know." "Why?" Marcus's voice was hard. "Why did you do it? For money? For protection?" "At first, for protection. Walsh made it clear what happened to people who didn't cooperate. Then it just became normal. That's the worst part." Wilson's tears fell onto the table. "After a while, it felt normal. Like this was just how things worked." "Oh, my brother died," Marcus said slowly. "And it felt normal to you." Wilson couldn't meet his eyes. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything. I know sorry doesn't bring him back, but I am. I'm so sorry." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. This woman had stood outside a door and listened to his brother die. She'd altered evidence. She'd helped bury the truth. She'd done it 43 times. And now she was crying and saying sorry like that could fix anything. "Your sorry means nothing to me," Marcus said. "But your testimony might save your life. Give Agent Turner everything. Every name, every date, every detail you can remember." He stood up from the table. "And Sergeant Wilson, when you're sitting in your cell tonight, I want you to think about something. Damon called 911 because he trusted the police. He thought we would help him. He died thinking we were the good guys." Marcus walked to the door. "You helped take that trust and destroy it. Not just for my brother, for everyone who's afraid to call 911 now. For everyone who sees a police car and feels fear instead of safety. That's your legacy." He opened the door. "Live with it." The door closed behind him. Wilson broke down completely, sobbing into her cuffed hands, while her lawyer sat helplessly beside her. Marcus walked down the hallway alone. His footsteps echoed. The station was quieter now. Most officers had been sent home. Only essential personnel remained, along with the growing number of federal agents processing the scene. He found himself standing outside IR3. The door was open. The room was empty. Someone had placed evidence markers on the table where his blood had fallen. On the wall, where his head had hit. On the floor, where Mitchell had collapsed. Marcus stepped inside. The chair where he'd sat was still there. The chair where Damon had sat 3 years ago. The same chair. The same table. The same walls that had absorbed his brother's screams. He touched the table. Cold metal. Scratched and dented from years of use. "Chief Thompson?" Marcus turned. Tyler Brooks stood in the doorway. The young officer looked exhausted. His phone was still in his hand. "Brooks, I wanted you to know I recorded everything, from the moment Mitchell grabbed you in the lobby. I have all of it." "I know. I heard." "I should have done more." Brooks's voice cracked. "I should have intervened. I should have—" "You did exactly what you needed to do." Marcus walked toward him. "You documented the truth. That's more than anyone else in this building has done in 3 years. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. But evidence convicts. Courage without proof is just a story someone can deny." Brooks nodded slowly. "What happens now?" "Now you become Detective Brooks. First assignment is helping me identify every officer who participated in the cover-ups. Wilson is going to give us names. I need someone I can trust to verify them." "You trust me?" Marcus studied the young man's face. 24 years old. 6 months on the force. He'd risked his career, maybe his life, to do the right thing. "You're the only person in this building who tried to help me tonight. Yes, I trust you." Brooks straightened. Something shifted in his posture. The uncertainty was still there, but beneath it was something stronger. Purpose. "I won't let you down, sir." "I know you won't." Marcus put his hand on Brooks's shoulder. "Go home. Get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a long day." "What about you?" Marcus looked back at IR3, at the room where everything had changed. "I need a few more minutes." Brooks left. Marcus stepped back into the interrogation room and closed the door behind him. He sat in the chair. The same chair. His hands flat on the table. Just like he'd been 90 minutes ago when Mitchell had circled behind him. Just like Damon had been 3 years ago when he'd asked for help and received violence instead. "I'm here," Marcus said to the empty room. "I made it. I'm here." He thought about his mother, waiting at home. She didn't know what had happened tonight. She would find out tomorrow at the ceremony when Marcus stood in front of the crowd with a black eye and bandaged face and took his oath. She would understand. She would cry. And then she would sit in the front row and watch her surviving son try to fix what the system had broken. "I couldn't save you," Marcus whispered. "I was overseas. I didn't know. I didn't know until it was too late." He pressed his palm against the cold metal table. "But I can save the others. I can make sure no one else dies in this room. I can make sure your name means something." The fluorescent lights hummed. The walls held their silence. Somewhere in the building, federal agents were processing evidence that would put Mitchell away for decades. Wilson was confessing to crimes that would haunt her forever. Walsh was discovering that his money and power couldn't save him from federal charges. And Marcus Thompson was sitting in the room where his brother died, making a promise he intended to keep. "Tomorrow, I take the oath. Tomorrow, this becomes my station. Tomorrow, everything changes." He stood, walked to the door, paused with his hand on the handle. "Rest now, Damon. I've got it from here." He opened the door and stepped out into the hallway. Behind him, IR3 sat empty. But it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like something had shifted, like a weight had been lifted, like Damon Thompson finally had someone fighting for him. Marcus walked toward Conference Room A, where the federal team was waiting. His face was bruised. His eye was swelling. His throat ached with every breath, but his steps were steady, and his purpose was clear. The reckoning had only just begun. Marcus pushed open the door to Conference Room A and found chaos. Agent Turner was on 2 phones at once. Bennett had spreadsheets covering half the table. Mayor Anderson was arguing with someone from the city attorney's office. 3 other federal agents were sorting through boxes of files that Clara Williams had somehow produced in the last hour. "How bad?" Marcus asked. Turner lowered one phone. "Worse than we thought. Wilson gave us 12 names, 12 officers directly involved in cover-ups over the past 3 years. 12. And that's just the ones she knows about. Walsh kept compartmentalized records. We're finding payments to people Wilson never mentioned." Marcus sat down at the table. Someone had finally convinced him to let a paramedic look at his injuries. His eye was bandaged now. His throat was wrapped. He looked like he'd gone 10 rounds with a heavyweight. "Where's Walsh?" he asked. "Federal holding. He's already asking for a deal." "No deals." Turner hesitated. "Chief Thompson, if he cooperates, he could give us—" "I said no deals. Not for Walsh, not for Mitchell, not for anyone who touched my brother's case." Mayor Anderson ended his call and joined them at the table. "Marcus, I understand how you feel, but do you—" Marcus turned to face him. "Do you understand what it's like to bury your brother and be told he died of natural causes? Do you understand what it's like to read a police report that says he became violent when you know that Damon never hurt anyone in his life?" Anderson fell silent. "My brother was afraid of spiders. He cried at commercials with dogs in them. He called our mother every single day." Marcus's voice cracked. "He was not violent. He was scared and alone, and he called 911 because that's what you're supposed to do, and they killed him for it." The room was quiet. Even Turner had stopped her phone calls. "So, no," Marcus said. "No deals. These men don't get to trade information for reduced sentences. They don't get to spend 5 years in minimum security and then write books about what they did. They get the full weight of federal prosecution, and they spend the rest of their lives knowing exactly why." Bennett cleared his throat. "For what it's worth, the evidence is strong enough that we don't need cooperation to convict. Wilson's testimony, plus the documentation Clara provided, plus Brooks's recordings, it's airtight." "Good." The door opened. Clara Williams entered carrying 2 more boxes. She looked like she hadn't slept in decades, but there was something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Relief, maybe. Or release. "These are the last of them," she said. 25 years of logs. Every entry Sergeant Wilson made. Every case that didn't add up." She set the boxes on the table and stood there uncertain what to do next. "Mrs. Williams," Marcus said. "Sit down." She sat across from him. Her hands were shaking. "You kept records for 25 years. You watched things happen and you documented them instead of reporting them. I need to understand why." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I was a coward. I already told you that." "That's not an answer. That's a label. Tell me why." She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. In 1999, a dispatcher named Ruthie Mae Johnson tried to report what was happening in this station. She had evidence. She had witnesses. She went to internal affairs with everything. What happened to her? They found drugs in her car 3 days later, enough to charge her with intent to distribute. She lost her job, lost her pension, lost custody of her kids. Clara wiped her face. "Ruthie Mae was my best friend. I was supposed to go with her that day. I was supposed to back her up. But I got scared at the last minute. I stayed home. And she went alone. She went alone. And they destroyed her." Clara looked at Marcus with eyes that held decades of guilt. "After that, I decided the only way to survive was to document everything and wait. Wait for someone strong enough to actually do something about it." "You waited 25 years. I waited 25 years. And people died while I waited. Your brother died while I waited." Her voice broke completely. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I'm asking you to use what I have. Make it mean something." Marcus studied her face. This woman wasn't a villain. She was a survivor. She'd done what she thought she had to do to protect herself and her family. It wasn't brave, but it was human. "Ruthie Mae Johnson," Marcus said. "Is she still alive?" "She's in a nursing home in Oakland, 73 years old. Mind's still sharp, but her body gave out years ago. Bennett add her to the witness list. I want her story in the record." Bennett nodded and made a note. "Mrs. Williams, you're going to testify. Everything you know, everything you saw, 25 years of institutional rot, and you're going to help us clean it out." Clara nodded. "Whatever you need. And when this is over, when we've rebuilt this department from the ground up, I want you to help me design a new reporting system. One where people like Ruthie Mae can come forward without fear of retaliation." Clara stared at him. "You want my help? After everything I didn't do. I want your experience. You know how the system fails. Help me build one that doesn't." For the first time all night, something like hope crossed Clara's face. "I'd like that." The door burst open again. Brooks rushed in, phone in hand. "Sir, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Mitchell's talking. He asked for his lawyer an hour ago, but he's not waiting. He's telling everyone who will listen that this was a setup, that you provoked him, that the FBI planned the whole thing." Marcus stood. "Where is he?" "Holding cell 3. "But sir..." Marcus was already moving. Turner fell into step beside him. "This could be a mistake," she said. "Anything he says to you could be used to claim intimidation. His lawyer will argue. His lawyer can argue whatever he wants. I'm not going to let Mitchell control the narrative." They moved through the station, past offices where agents were collecting computers, past break rooms where officers sat in stunned silence, past the lobby where Marcus had been attacked just hours ago. The holding area was in the basement. 3 cells. Heavy doors. No windows. Mitchell was in the middle cell. He was pacing like a caged animal. His uniform was disheveled. His face was streaked with dried tears. When he saw Marcus, he rushed to the bars. "This was a trap. You set me up. You came in here looking like a criminal on purpose." Marcus stood 3 feet from the bars, close enough to see the fear in Mitchell's eyes, far enough to stay safe. "I walked into a police station in civilian clothes. That's not a crime. You knew what would happen. You wanted me to attack you. I wanted to see if you'd changed. You haven't." Mitchell gripped the bars. His knuckles were white. "I've been on this force for 15 years. I've put away hundreds of criminals. I've saved lives. And you're going to destroy all of that because of one mistake. One mistake. Your brother. That was it. Got out of hand. I didn't mean..." "You beat him for 7 minutes. You ignored him when he said he couldn't breathe. You called it a medical emergency and went home and slept." Marcus's voice was ice. "That's not a mistake. That's murder." It wasn't murder. He had a heart attack. The medical examiner. The medical examiner was paid off by Walsh. We have the records. Mitchell's face went pale, paler than it had been in IR3, paler than Marcus thought possible. That's a lie. It's in Walsh's bank statements. 3 payments to Dr. Harrison in the month after my brother died. Total of $47,000. I didn't know about that. I swear I didn't know. You didn't want to know. You beat a man to death and you didn't ask questions because the answers would have meant admitting what you did. Mitchell released the bars. He stepped back. His legs were shaking. I have a family, he said. His voice was different now, smaller. I have a wife. 2 kids. What happens to them? They'll visit you in prison. Please. Mitchell fell to his knees. Please. I'll cooperate. I'll testify against Walsh. I'll give you everything. You don't have anything I need. I have names. I have dates. I have... Wilson already gave us all of it. You have nothing to bargain with. Mitchell's face crumbled. He slumped against the cell wall and started to sob. Ugly broken sounds that echoed off concrete. I didn't want him to die. I just wanted him to stop crying. I just wanted 5 minutes of quiet. Marcus stared at the man who had killed his brother. This pathetic weeping man who had held so much power just hours ago. Who had grabbed Marcus by the throat and called him a thug. Who had thought his badge made him untouchable. My brother was crying because he was scared, Marcus said. He was having a panic attack. He needed someone to tell him it was going to be okay. Instead, you beat him until his heart gave out. I'm sorry. You keep saying that. It keeps meaning nothing. Marcus turned to leave. He was done here. There was nothing left to say. Wait. Mitchell's voice was desperate. Wait. Please. I have something. Something Wilson doesn't know about. Marcus stopped. He didn't turn around. Walsh has a safe in his office, behind the painting of the flag. The combination is his wife's birthday. Inside there's a ledger, names, dates, amounts. Everyone who ever took money from Vincent Taylor. We'll find it without your help. There's more. Mitchell's voice dropped. There's a video of what happened to your brother. Marcus's entire body went rigid. Walsh kept a camera in IR3, a hidden one, separate from the official system. He recorded everything that happened in that room and kept the files on a private server. Marcus turned slowly. You're telling me there's video of my brother's murder? Walsh said it was insurance, in case any of us ever tried to turn on him. Turner grabbed Marcus's arm. We need to find that server, now. Marcus didn't move. He stood there staring at Mitchell, processing what he'd just heard. 3 years. 3 years of believing he'd never know exactly what happened to Damon. 3 years of piecing together fragments. 3 years of imagining the worst. And now there might be video. Where's the server? Marcus asked. I don't know. Walsh never told anyone, but he accessed it from his home computer. I saw him do it once. Turner was already on her phone coordinating with the team at Walsh's residence. Marcus walked back to the bars. He stood inches from Mitchell's face. If you're lying to me, I'm not. I swear to God I'm not. The video exists. I've seen it. You've seen it. Mitchell's face twisted with something that might have been shame. Walsh showed it to me. After it happened. He said it was our insurance policy. He said we were all in it together now. And you watched my brother die on video, and you still went home and slept at night. I told myself it was necessary. I told myself he was dangerous. I told myself... Mitchell broke down again. I told myself whatever I had to tell myself to keep going. Because the alternative was admitting I was a monster. Marcus stepped back from the bars. You are a monster, and now everyone's going to see it. He walked out of the holding area. Turner followed. Behind them, Mitchell's sobs echoed through the basement until the heavy door swung shut and cut off the sound. They found the server at 3:47 a.m. hidden in Walsh's basement behind a false wall protected by a password that his wife gave up within 10 minutes of being questioned. She'd known something was wrong for years. She just hadn't wanted to admit it. The files were organized by date. Hundreds of videos. Thousands of hours of footage from IR3. Bennett found Damon's file in seconds. May 16th. 3 years ago. 47 minutes of footage. Chief Thompson. Bennett's voice was gentle. You don't have to watch this. Yes, I do. It's evidence. It'll be used in court. You can read the transcript. You don't have to. He was my brother. I owe him this. They set up in Walsh's living room. Marcus sat in an expensive leather chair that probably cost more than a patrol officer's monthly salary. Turner sat beside him. Bennett worked the laptop. Ready? Bennett asked. Play it. The screen flickered to life. Damon Thompson appeared on camera, sitting in the chair, his hands flat on the table, his face wet with tears, his body trembling. He looked so young, 38 years old, but he looked 20, the way his shoulders hunched, the way his eyes darted around the room, the way he flinched at every sound. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. Mitchell entered the frame. He circled behind Damon, said something the audio didn't quite catch. Damon's voice came through clearly. Please, I just need to breathe. Please let me catch my breath. Mitchell's response was harsh, mocking. You want to breathe? Then stop crying like a baby. I'm trying. I'm sorry. I'm trying. What followed was difficult to watch. 7 minutes. Mitchell had said 7 minutes, and it was true. For 7 minutes, Craig Mitchell beat Damon Thompson, while Wilson stood at the door and did nothing. Damon begged. He pleaded. He called for his mother. He called for Marcus. My brother. Please call my brother. He'll come. He'll help. Marcus didn't realize he was crying until he felt tears dripping off his chin. The video ended with Damon slumped in the chair, not moving. Mitchell standing over him, breathing hard, rubbing his knuckles. What do we do? Wilson's voice from off-screen. Call Walsh. Tell him we have a problem. The screen went black. Marcus sat in silence. The tears kept coming. He didn't try to stop them. Turner reached over and took his hand. She didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. He called for me, Marcus finally whispered. He called for me, and I wasn't there. You didn't know. I was in Virginia. FBI field office. I was working a case. My phone was off. His voice cracked. My phone was off and my brother was dying and calling my name. Marcus. Turner used his first name. Broke protocol. You couldn't have known. If I'd called him that day, if I'd checked in, This is not your fault. This is Mitchell's fault. Wilson's fault. Walsh's fault. Not yours. Marcus pulled his hand away. He stood up, walked to the window. Outside, the sky was starting to lighten. Dawn was coming. I need that video at the press conference tomorrow. Bennett looked up. Sir, I need people to see what they did. I need them to understand that this isn't about statistics or policy papers or reform initiatives. This is about a man who called for help and was beaten to death while he cried for his mother. The media will show it. Every network, every paper, every website. They'll show it because it's the truth, and the truth is the only thing that's going to change anything. Turner stood. Are you sure? Once that video is out there, it can never be taken back. Your family will see it. Your mother. My mother has spent 3 years believing Damon died alone. At least now she'll know he died fighting. He died calling for help. He died hoping someone would come. Marcus turned from the window. His face was wet, but his eyes were clear. Play it again. Marcus, play it again. I need to memorize every second, every word, because tomorrow when I stand in front of that crowd, I'm going to tell them exactly what happened to my brother, and I'm not going to leave anything out. Bennett pressed play. Marcus watched his brother die for the second time that night, and then a third, and then a fourth. Each time he noticed something new. A word Damon said, a gesture Mitchell made, the way Wilson shifted her weight at the door. By the time the sun rose over the city, Marcus had watched the video 11 times. He could recite it from memory. He was ready. Turner drove him back to the station as morning light flooded the streets. The ceremony was scheduled for 8 a.m., 3 hours away. "You need sleep," she said. "I'll sleep tomorrow." "You need medical attention." "Already got it." "You need—" "What I need is to stand in front of this city and take an oath. What I need is to look my mother in the eye and tell her that justice is coming. What I need is to walk into that station as chief of police and start fixing what's been broken for decades." Turner pulled into the station parking lot. News vans were already gathering. Word had leaked. The story was out. Black man assaulted by officers revealed as new police chief. It was going to be the biggest story of the year. Marcus opened the car door, paused. "Thank you," he said, "for everything you've done. We're just getting started. I know. But tonight, this investigation, my brother finally has a chance at justice because of you and your team." Turner smiled. It was tired but genuine. "He has a chance because of you. You walked into that station knowing what might happen. You let them attack you to prove what they were. I had to know if anything had changed. And now you know. How you—" Marcus stepped out of the car. The morning air was cool. Birds were singing somewhere. A normal Tuesday morning in every way except one. "Now I know," he said. "And now I'm going to change it." He walked toward the station. Behind him, the sun rose higher. Inside, a city was waiting to meet its new chief of police. The man Mitchell had attacked. The brother Damon had called for. The officer who was about to burn the whole rotten system to the ground and build something better from the ashes. Marcus Thompson straightened his shoulders, ignored the pain in his throat and his eye, and walked through the front door. 3 hours until the ceremony. 3 hours until everything changed. Margaret Thompson arrived at City Hall at 7:15 a.m. She wore her purple Sunday dress, the one she'd bought for Damon's college graduation 12 years ago, the one she'd worn to his funeral 3 years later. Pinned to her collar was a small photograph. Damon at 25, smiling, full of life, before everything went wrong. Marcus met her at the entrance. His face was bandaged, his eye was swollen shut, his throat was wrapped in white gauze. Margaret stopped walking. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Baby. What did they do to you?" "Mama, I'm okay." "You are not okay. Look at your face. Look at—" She reached up and touched the bandage above his eye. Her fingers trembled. "Who did this?" "The same people who hurt Damon." Margaret's hand dropped. Her eyes filled with tears that she'd been holding back for 3 years. "Tell me everything." They sat on a bench outside the ceremony hall. Marcus told her. Everything. The lobby, the interrogation room. Mitchell's hands around his throat. The video they'd found on Walsh's server. He didn't tell her what was on the video. Not yet. That would come later. "They're all in custody," Marcus said. "Mitchell, Wilson, Walsh. Everyone who touched Damon's case. By the end of the week, they'll be facing federal charges." Margaret was quiet for a long time. She stared at her hands, at the photograph on her collar, at the son who was sitting beside her, beaten but unbroken. "You did this on purpose," she finally said. "You walked in there knowing what might happen." "Yes." "You let them hurt you." "I had to know if anything had changed. I had to see it for myself." "You could have died, just like your brother." "I almost did." Margaret grabbed his hands, squeezed them so hard her knuckles went white. "Don't you ever do that again. You hear me? I lost one son. I will not lose another." "Mama, promise me, whatever you have to do to fix this department, you don't put yourself in danger like that again. You find another way." Marcus looked at his mother. This woman who had raised 2 boys on her own, who had worked 3 jobs to put them through school, who had buried 1 son and watched the other disappear into grief for 3 years. "I promise." Margaret released his hands. She straightened the photograph on her collar, took a deep breath. "Then let's go in there and show them what a Thompson looks like." The ceremony hall was packed. Mayor Anderson stood at the podium running through his notes. City council members filled the front row. State representatives sat behind them. Federal agents lined the walls, a visible reminder that everything had changed overnight. And in the very front, in a seat reserved for family, Margaret Thompson sat with her purple dress and her photograph and her head held high. The media was everywhere. Cameras, microphones, reporters whispering into phones. The story had broken at 5 a.m. Black man attacked by police, revealed as new chief. It was trending worldwide. Marcus stood backstage with Turner and Brooks. His dress uniform was pressed and perfect, a stark contrast to his battered face. "You sure you want to do this?" Turner asked. "We could postpone. Give you time to heal." "No postponement. They need to see me like this." The optics. The optics are the point. I want every person in that room to look at my face and understand what happened. I want them to see the bruises and know that their police department did this to me, to my brother, to 43 other people. Brooks shifted nervously. "Sir, there's something you should know." "What?" "Some of the officers, the ones who aren't being investigated, they asked if they could attend the ceremony. They want to show support." Marcus turned to look at him. "How many son?" 37. They're outside right now, waiting to see if you'll let them in." 37 officers. Out of a department of 200. It wasn't much, but it was a start. "Let them in. Front rows. I want them where I can see them." Brooks nodded and hurried off. Turner checked her watch. 5 minutes. Marcus took a deep breath. His ribs ached. His throat burned. His eye throbbed with every heartbeat. None of it mattered. "Let's go." Mayor Anderson stepped to the podium at exactly 8 a.m. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this morning. Today marks a turning point for our city, a moment of reckoning, a moment of change." He paused, looked out at the crowd. "Many of you have seen the news reports. You know what happened last night at Westbrook Police Station. You know that the man we are about to swear in as chief of police was brutally attacked by officers under his own command. You know that 3 high-ranking members of our department are now in federal custody facing serious charges." The room was silent. Every eye was fixed on the podium. What you may not know is why this happened. Why Chief Thompson chose to enter that station alone, without identification, without protection. Why he allowed himself to be attacked rather than revealing who he was. Anderson gripped the edges of the podium. 3 years ago, a man named Damon Thompson died in custody at Westbrook Police Station. The official report said natural causes. The official report was a lie. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Margaret Thompson sat perfectly still, her eyes fixed on the podium. Damon Thompson was beaten to death by Officer Craig Mitchell, while Sergeant Linda Wilson watched. Deputy Chief Raymond Walsh covered it up. Evidence was destroyed, reports were falsified, and a family was left with nothing but questions. Anderson turned slightly, gesturing toward the side of the stage. That family is here today because Damon Thompson's brother spent 3 years fighting for the truth, 3 years investigating, 3 years building a case, and last night he walked into the station where his brother died to see if anything had changed. Marcus stepped onto the stage. The room erupted. Cameras flashed. People gasped. His battered face was impossible to ignore, the black eye, the bandaged forehead, the bruises on his throat visible above his uniform collar. He walked to the podium and stood beside Mayor Anderson. "Nothing had changed," Marcus said. His voice was rough but steady. "Officer Mitchell attacked me within 60 seconds of my entering the building. He called me a black thug. He slammed my head into a wall. He dragged me to an interrogation room and beat me while Sergeant Wilson watched." He paused. Let the words sink in. Exactly what he did to my brother. Margaret Thompson was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. But she didn't look away. She watched her son with fierce pride burning through the grief. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you this because you need to understand what kind of department this has been. For years, decades, Westbrook Police Station has operated as a system of abuse. People of color who entered that building were treated as criminals before they said a word. Complaints were buried. Evidence was destroyed. Officers who spoke up were silenced. Marcus looked at the 37 officers who had asked to attend. They sat in the front rows, uniforms, pressed faces somber. That ends today. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. This is a list of 43 people, 43 citizens of this city who died in custody or had their cases buried over the past 3 years. 43 families who never got answers. He unfolded the paper and began to read. Daniel Johnson, age 24, died in custody 8 months before my brother. Official cause cardiac arrest during restraint. Real cause blunt force trauma to the head. The room was absolutely silent. Maria Santos, age 31, arrested for a traffic violation. Died in holding. Official cause pre-existing medical condition. Real cause denied medication for 18 hours despite repeated requests. Margaret's hand found the photograph on her collar. She held it like a lifeline. Robert Chen, age 19, college student. College. Called police to report a burglary. Ended up in handcuffs. Ended up in IR3. Official cause accidental fall. Real cause fractured skull from repeated impacts against a concrete wall. Marcus continued reading. Name after name. Age after age. Life after life. It took 11 minutes to read the entire list. When he finished, he folded the paper and put it back in his pocket. Those are the names I know about. There may be more. We're going to find every single one of them. We're going to reopen every case. We're going to give every family the answers they deserve. He turned to face the crowd directly. And to the officers who did this, the 12 who Wilson named the others we haven't found yet, I want you to know something. You may think you're safe. You may think you covered your tracks. You may think you can wait this out until the attention fades. His voice hardened. You can't. I have 25 years of logs from Clara Williams. I have financial records from Walsh's secret accounts. I have video footage from a hidden camera system that recorded everything that happened in IR3 for the past 5 years. A stir went through the crowd. The officers in the front rows exchanged glances. Everything, every beating, every cover-up, every lie, it's all documented. It's all going to the federal grand jury, and it's all going to be made public. Marcus let that sink in. To the officers who aren't on that list, the ones who tried to do the right thing, the ones who kept your heads down because you were afraid, the ones who are sitting here right now wondering if there's any hope for this department, I have a message for you too. He found Brooks in the crowd, the young officer who had risked everything to record the truth. You are my foundation. You are the future of this department. Starting today, you will be protected, you will be supported, and you will be expected to hold yourselves to the highest standards. Marcus stepped back from the podium. Mayor Anderson moved forward with a Bible in his hands. Chief Thompson, are you ready to take your oath? I am. Marcus placed his hand on the Bible, the same Bible his mother had brought, the same Bible Damon had carried. Do you solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the laws of this state? I do. Do you swear to serve all citizens with integrity, fairness, and respect? I do. Do you swear to hold yourself and your officers to the highest standards of conduct? I do. Anderson paused. The traditional oath was complete, but Marcus spoke again. And I swear to honor every person who enters my station, especially those who can't fight back, especially those who are scared, especially those who need help and have nowhere else to turn. His voice cracked on the last words. He didn't try to hide it. I swear this on my brother's memory, on his name, on the life that was taken from him. He looked at his mother. I swear it on everything I have. Margaret Thompson stood. She was crying openly now, but her voice was strong. That's my son! That's my son! The room erupted in applause, standing ovation, every person on their feet. Marcus stepped away from the podium. He walked to his mother and wrapped his arms around her. She held him like she'd never let go. You did it, she whispered. You did it, baby. We did it, all of us. Damon would be so proud. Marcus pulled back to look at her. His good eye was wet. I'm going to make this right, Mama. I'm going to make sure no one else dies like he did. I know you will. She touched his bandaged face. I know. The ceremony broke for a reception. Hands to shake, photographs to take, reporters shouting questions from behind velvet ropes. Marcus handled all of it with patience he didn't feel. His body was screaming for rest. His injuries throbbed with every movement. But he smiled. He answered questions. He posed with city council members and shook hands with federal agents. Brooks appeared at his elbow an hour into the reception. Sir, there's someone asking to see you. She says her name is Jennifer Mitchell. Marcus went still. Mitchell's wife. Yes, sir. She's outside. She has her children with her. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, took a breath. Bring her to the side room. Give me 5 minutes. He found Turner in the crowd and pulled her aside. Mitchell's wife is here. Turner's expression hardened. You don't have to talk to her. I know. She could be trying to plead his case, get sympathy, work an angle. I know. So why are you going? Marcus thought about the question. Why was he going? This woman's husband had killed his brother, had attacked him, had destroyed countless lives over 15 years on the force. Because she's not him, Marcus finally said. And neither are their children. He walked to the side room. Jennifer Mitchell was sitting on a small couch, a boy of about 10 on one side and a girl of about 7 on the other. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. When Marcus entered, she stood so fast she nearly knocked over her son. Chief Thompson, thank you for seeing me. I know you didn't have to. I know what my husband did. I know... Her voice broke. I know everything. Marcus sat in a chair across from her. He didn't say anything, just waited. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm not here to ask for leniency. What Craig did is unforgivable. I know that. Then why are you here? Jennifer looked at her children. The boy was staring at his shoes. The girl was clutching a stuffed bear. I'm here to apologize, for whatever that's worth, for whatever it means. I'm here to tell you that I'm sorry for what he did to your brother, for what he did to you, for all of it. Did you know? The question hung in the air. Jennifer's face crumpled. I knew something was wrong. I knew he came home angry sometimes, violent. I knew there were things he wasn't telling me. She wiped her eyes. But I didn't want to know. I didn't ask questions because I was afraid of the answers. A lot of people in this department felt the same way. That doesn't make it right. No, it doesn't. Marcus looked at the children. The boy had looked up now. His eyes were wet. Is our dad a bad person? The boy asked. The question hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. This kid, 10 years old, scared, confused, was asking if his father was a monster. Your dad did bad things, Marcus said carefully. Very bad things. He hurt people who didn't deserve to be hurt. But is he a bad person? Marcus thought about Mitchell crying in the holding cell, begging for mercy, saying he was sorry over and over. I think your dad got lost. I think he made choices that took him further and further away from the person he was supposed to be. And I think by the time he realized how far he'd gone, it was too late to find his way back. The boy nodded slowly. He didn't fully understand, but he was trying. What happens to us now? the girl asked. Her voice was tiny, scared. Jennifer pulled her daughter close. We're going to be okay, sweetheart. We're going to figure it out. Mrs. Mitchell, Marcus said, your husband is going to prison for a very long time. There's nothing I can do about that, and honestly, there's nothing I would do about it even if I could. Jennifer nodded. She expected this. But you and your children are not responsible for his crimes. You're going to need help in the coming months. Counseling, financial support, legal guidance. He pulled a card from his pocket. This is the number for a victims services organization. They help families in situations like yours. I'm going to make sure they know you're coming. Jennifer stared at the card. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Why would you help us after everything Craig did to you? Marcus stood. He looked at the children one more time. Because punishing them for their father's sins would make me exactly what he was. And I didn't walk into that station last night to become another Craig Mitchell. I walked in to make sure there are no more Craig Mitchells. He walked to the door. Mrs. Mitchell, tell your children the truth, all of it. When they're old enough to understand, tell them exactly what their father did and exactly why it was wrong. Don't let them grow up making excuses for him. I won't. Good. Because the only way we break this cycle is by raising the next generation to be better than us. He opened the door. Good luck, Mrs. Mitchell. Chief Thompson. Her voice stopped him. Your brother Damon. What was he like? Marcus paused. His hand tightened on the doorframe. He was kind. He was funny. He loved building model trains. He called our mother every single day. He was scared of spiders, and he cried at commercials with dogs in them. His voice softened. He was my best friend, and the world is worse without him. He walked out and closed the door behind him. The reception ended at noon. Marcus was running on fumes by then. Every step hurt, every breath hurt, but he kept moving. Turner found him in the hallway outside the ceremony hall. Grand jury convenes tomorrow. Walsh, Mitchell, and Wilson will be formally indicted by end of week. We're still tracking down the other names on Wilson's list, but we've already made 3 more arrests. Good. You need to go home and sleep. Soon. You've been awake for over 30 hours. I said soon. Turner sighed. You're as stubborn as the FBI profile said you were. The FBI did a profile on me. We've been investigating Walsh for 18 months. You showed up on our radar 6 months ago when you started asking questions about your brother's case. We had to make sure you weren't going to blow our operation. And our profile said you were highly intelligent, deeply principled, and pathologically unable to let things go. Marcus almost smiled. That sounds about right. It also said you had a tendency to put yourself in danger when you thought it was necessary. That you'd sacrifice your own safety for what you believed was right. Also accurate. Turner shook her head. You're going to be a nightmare to work with, aren't you? Probably. Good. This department needs a nightmare. She walked away. Marcus stood alone in the hallway for a moment, absorbing the silence. It was done. The ceremony was over. The oath was taken. He was officially chief of police. Now the real work began. His phone buzzed. A text from Brooks. Sir, I'm at the station. Officers are asking what happens next. What should I tell them? Marcus typed back. Tell them I'll be there in an hour. Tell them we're going to rebuild this department from the ground up. Tell them anyone who wants to be part of the solution is welcome. Anyone who doesn't should start updating their resume. He pocketed his phone and went to find his mother. She was sitting in the now empty ceremony hall, looking at the podium where her son had taken his oath. Mama, I need to get to the station. I know. Will you be okay getting home? Margaret stood. She straightened her purple dress, touched the photograph on her collar. I'll be fine. I've been okay for 3 years. Another few hours won't kill me. She walked to him, put her hands on his face, careful to avoid the bruises. I'm proud of you. Your father would be proud. Damon would be proud. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have, but I'm glad I got to see it. She kissed his cheek, the unbandaged one. Go save your city baby. I'll be here when you're done. Marcus hugged her one more time. Then he walked out of City Hall into the afternoon sun toward the station where his brother had died and his future was waiting. The 37 officers who had attended the ceremony were already there when he arrived. They stood at attention in the lobby. The same lobby where Mitchell had attacked him less than 24 hours ago. Brooks was at the front, young, nervous, ready. Chief Thompson? Brooks saluted. The department is ready for your orders. Marcus looked at them. 37 faces, some scared, some hopeful, all uncertain. At ease, he said. We have a lot of work to do. He walked past them toward the back of the station toward IR3. The door was closed. Yellow tape across it now. Evidence markers still visible through the small window. Marcus stood there for a moment, remembering, honoring. Then he reached up and pulled down the tape. Brooks. Sir. Get me a plaque made. I want it mounted on this door by end of day tomorrow. What should it say, sir? Marcus put his hand on the door, felt the cold metal under his palm. Damon Thompson Reflection Room. Remember, every person who enters this building is someone's brother, sister, or child. Treat them accordingly. Brooks wrote it down. I'll have it ready. Good. Marcus turned to face the officers gathered behind him. Now, let's get to work. He pushed open the door to IR3 and walked inside. The room that had taken his brother would become the room that honored his memory. The station that had failed so many would become the station that served everyone. The department that had been broken for decades would be rebuilt, one day at a time, one case at a time, one life at a time. Chief Marcus Thompson sat down at the table where his brother had died and opened the first cold case file. Daniel Johnson, age 24. I'm sorry I didn't find you sooner, Marcus said to the empty room. But I'm here now. He began to read. The phone call came at 3:47 a.m. on a Thursday, 6 weeks after Marcus took his oath. Chief Thompson. The voice belonged to Agent Turner. The grand jury just returned their verdicts. Marcus sat up in bed. He hadn't been sleeping anyway. He rarely slept anymore. Tell me. Mitchell, guilty on all counts. Civil rights violations resulting in death. Evidence tampering. Conspiracy. Federal sentencing guidelines put him at 25 to life. Marcus closed his eyes. 25 to life. It wasn't enough. Nothing would ever be enough. But it was something. Wilson. Guilty. Accessory to murder. Evidence tampering. Conspiracy. 15 to 20. Walsh. Guilty. Racketeering. Bribery. Conspiracy to violate civil rights. Accessory to murder in 3 separate cases. Turner paused. He's looking at 40 years minimum. He'll die in prison. Marcus let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. And the others? 8 more officers indicted. 6 have already pleaded guilty. The other 2 are going to trial next month, but their lawyers are already talking deals. No deals. That's what I told them. Marcus got out of bed and walked to the window. The city was dark and quiet. Peaceful in a way it hadn't earned yet. What about Dr. Harrison? The medical examiner. He's cooperating fully. In exchange for testimony, he's getting 5 years and loss of his license. He'll never practice medicine again. He should get more. He should. But his testimony is putting away people who did worse. Sometimes you have to make trades. Marcus didn't respond. He understood the logic. He hated it, but he understood it. There's something else, Turner said. The families are asking about you. The 43 families. They want to meet with you. Together. All of them. When? Whenever you're ready. Marcus looked at the photograph on his nightstand. Damon at 25, smiling, alive. Tomorrow, he said. Set it up for tomorrow. The community center was standing room only. 43 families. Some had come alone. Some had brought everyone they had left. Children, grandparents, siblings, friends. All of them connected by the same thread of loss. Marcus walked in at exactly 10 a.m. Brooks was with him along with Clara Williams and Detective Sarah Chen, one of the officers who had transferred in from another department to help with the rebuilding. The room fell silent when Marcus entered. He walked to the front. No podium, no microphone, just him and the families, and 3 years of pain hanging in the air between them. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I know some of you traveled a long way to be here. I know this isn't easy." A woman in the front row stood up. Marcus recognized her from the files. Dorothy Johnson, Daniel's mother. "My son has been dead for 3 years and 7 months, she said. Her voice shook but didn't break. "For 3 years and 7 months, I was told he died of a heart attack, that he became violent, that the officers had no choice." "I know. Do you know what that's like? To bury your child and be told it was his fault, to have people look at you with pity and suspicion at the same time? I know exactly what that's like." Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. "Your brother." "Damon. He died 8 months after Daniel. Same room, same lies, same cover-up." She sat down slowly. An older man beside her, her husband Marcus Guest, put his arm around her shoulders. "I can't give you your loved ones back," Marcus said. "I can't undo what was done. I can't make the pain go away." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick folder. "But I can give you this." He opened the folder and held up the first page. "Daniel Johnson. This is the real report. The one they buried. It shows exactly what happened to your son. The officers involved, the timeline, the cover-up." He set it on a table in front of Dorothy. "Every family here will receive the same thing. The real files. The real evidence. The real truth about what happened to your loved ones." A murmur went through the crowd. Some people were crying. Some were holding each other. Some were just staring at Marcus like they couldn't believe what they were hearing. "Along with the files, you'll receive information about the Federal Victims' Compensation Fund. It's not enough. Nothing could ever be enough, but it's something. Money for counseling, money for legal fees, money to help you rebuild." A young woman near the back stood up. She was holding a baby on her hip. "My husband," she said. "Robert Chen. They told me he fell. They told me it was an accident." "It wasn't. Officer Mitchell killed him. The same officer who killed my brother and Daniel Johnson and 11 other people we know about." "Is he going to prison?" "For the rest of his life." The woman sat down. She was crying now, but there was something else in her face. Relief, vindication, the knowledge that someone finally believed her. Marcus spent the next 3 hours with the families. He talked to each one individually. He answered their questions. He looked at photographs of their loved ones and listened to stories about who they had been before the police took them away. Maria Santos had wanted to be a nurse. She'd been 3 months away from finishing her degree when she was arrested for running a stop sign. James Wilson, no relation to Sergeant Wilson, had coached Little League for 15 years. He'd gone to the station to file a noise complaint and never came home. Angela Torres had been a grandmother of 7. She'd called 911 to report a break-in at her neighbor's house. The officers who responded decided she was the threat. Story after story. Life after life. Each one a universe of potential that had been snuffed out by men who thought their badges made them gods. By the time the last family left, Marcus was exhausted in ways he couldn't describe. Brooks found him sitting alone in the empty community center, staring at the wall. "Sir, the car is ready." "In a minute." Brooks sat down beside him. They were quiet for a while. "How do you do it?" Brooks finally asked. "Do what?" "Carry all of this. The weight of it. 43 families. 43 stories. 43 people who died because of us, because of what this department was." Marcus turned to look at him. This young officer who had risked everything to do the right thing, who had recorded the truth when everyone else looked away. "I don't carry it alone," Marcus said. "That's the point. For 3 years, these families carried it alone. They were told their loved ones were criminals. They were told it was their fault. They had no one to believe them, no one to fight for them." He stood up. "Now they have us. Now they have a department that's going to honor their loved ones instead of erasing them. Now they have a chief of police who knows exactly what they lost because he lost it too." Brooks stood with him. "Is it getting easier, the work, I mean?" "No, but it's getting better. Every officer we remove, every case we reopen, every family that finally gets answers. It adds up." "To what?" Marcus walked toward the door. "To change. Real change. The kind that lasts." 6 months after the ceremony, Westbrook Police Station was unrecognizable. The lobby had been redesigned. Gone were the harsh lights and intimidating layout. In their place was an open space with comfortable seating, multilingual signage, and a reception desk staffed by trained civilian liaisons. IR3 had been converted into the Damon Thompson Reflection Room. The plaque Marcus had ordered hung on the door. Inside, the metal table and harsh chairs had been replaced with a small memorial. Photographs of every person who had died in custody. Flowers changed weekly. A book where officers could write their own reflections on what it meant to serve. Every new officer spent their first day in that room, reading the names, learning the stories, understanding what happened when power went unchecked. The department had shrunk from 200 officers to 140. Some had been arrested, some had resigned, some had been transferred to desk duty pending investigation. But the ones who remained were different. Better. Committed to being the department Westbrook deserved. Marcus was reviewing personnel files in his office when Clara Williams knocked on his door. "Chief Thompson, there's someone here to see you." "Who?" "She says her name is Ruth Mae Johnson." Marcus looked up sharply. "Ruthie Mae. The dispatcher who tried to report corruption 25 years ago." "The same. She's in a wheelchair, but she insisted on coming in person. Bring her in, now." Ruth Mae Johnson was 73 years old and looked every day of it. Her body was frail, her hands shook with tremors, and her voice was barely above a whisper. But her eyes were sharp, alive, burning with something that 25 years of silence hadn't been able to extinguish. "Chief Thompson," she said as Clara wheeled her into the office, "I've been waiting a long time to meet you." Marcus came around his desk and knelt beside her wheelchair. "Mrs. Johnson, the honor is mine. I saw your ceremony on television. I saw what they did to your face. I saw you stand up there and read those names. I should have read yours too. You tried to stop this 25 years ago. If anyone had listened, they wouldn't have." Ruth Mae shook her head. "The department wasn't ready. The city wasn't ready. Sometimes you have to wait for the right moment. You waited a long time. Too long. People died while I waited. Your brother died while I waited." Marcus took her trembling hand. "You survived. You kept your records. You were ready when we finally came asking." "Clara kept more records than I did. She's the real hero." Clara, standing by the door, wiped her eyes. "We both just did what we could. That's all any of us can do." Marcus stood. "Mrs. Johnson, I'd like to ask you something. Anything. We're creating a civilian oversight board. Real authority, real power to investigate complaints and hold officers accountable. I want you to chair it." Ruth Mae stared at him. "I'm 73 years old. I can barely walk. My doctors say I have maybe 2 years left." "Then we'd better get started." Something shifted in Ruth Mae's face. The weariness lifted just slightly, replaced by something that looked almost like joy. "You're serious. 25 years ago you tried to fix this department and they destroyed you for it. Now I'm giving you the chance to finish what you started, with full authority, full support, full protection." Ruth Mae's eyes filled with tears. "I thought I'd die without ever seeing justice." "You're going to do more than see it. You're going to help create it." She gripped his hand with surprising strength. "Then yes, I accept." The first anniversary of Marcus's swearing-in fell on a Tuesday. The city held a small ceremony. Nothing elaborate, just a gathering in front of the station with community leaders and family members and the officers who had helped rebuild the department. Marcus stood at a podium that had been set up on the front steps. Behind him, the new station motto was carved into the stone: protect, serve, honor. "1 year ago," he said, "I walked into this building and was attacked within 60 seconds. 1 year ago, 3 corrupt officers tried to make me disappear the same way they'd made 43 other people disappear." The crowd was silent, respectful. Today, those officers are in federal prison. Today, 43 families have the truth about what happened to their loved ones. Today, this department has mandatory body cameras, a civilian oversight board, mental health crisis teams, and officers who understand that their badge is a responsibility, not a weapon. He paused, looked out at the faces before him. But we're not done. We'll never be done. Because the work of justice isn't something you finish. It's something you do every day, every call, every interaction, every moment when you have power over another human being and you have to decide what kind of person you're going to be. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. A model train car. Blue, his brother's favorite color. My brother Damon loved building model trains. He had a whole layout in our mother's basement. Spent years on it. Every detail perfect. He held up the train car. When he died, I couldn't go down there. Couldn't look at what he'd built. It hurt too much, so I left it alone. Let it collect dust. Margaret Thompson was in the front row, tears streaming down her face. But she was smiling. "Last week I finally went down there. I expected it to be painful. Expected it to bring back all the grief. And it did. But it also brought back something else." He turned the train car over in his hands. Damon spent years building something beautiful, something that brought him joy, something he could be proud of. And when he was gone, that didn't disappear. The trains are still there. The layout is still there. The love he put into it is still there. Marcus looked at the officers gathered behind him. Brooks, Chen, the 37 who had stood with him on day 1, now joined by 40 more who had earned their places. That's what we're doing here, building something. Something that will outlast any one of us. Something that the next generation can look at and be proud of. He put the train car back in his pocket. Damon didn't get to finish his layout. He ran out of time. But I'm going to finish it for him. Every track, every car, every detail. Because that's what you do for the people you love. You carry their work forward. He stepped back from the podium. This department is my brother's legacy. Every good officer we train, every life we save, every family that calls 911 and gets help instead of violence. That's Damon's legacy. That's what we're building together. The applause started slowly and built to something that filled the street. People clapping, people crying, people holding photographs of loved ones who should have been there but weren't. Marcus descended the steps and was immediately surrounded. Handshakes, hugs, words of gratitude and encouragement. Through the crowd he saw his mother. She was standing off to the side, holding the photograph of Damon that she'd worn to every ceremony, every meeting, every moment that mattered. He made his way to her. "Mama. My boy. She cupped his face in her hands. The bruises were long gone now, but she still touched him like she was checking for damage. "You did good today." "I meant what I said, about finishing the layout." "I know you did. I've been waiting for you to go down there. It took me a while. It took you exactly as long as it needed to take." She smoothed his collar. "Damon would understand. He always understood you better than anyone." Marcus pulled her into a hug, held her tight. "I miss him, Mama. Every day." "I know, baby. Me too." "Does it get easier?" Margaret pulled back to look at him. Her eyes were wet but clear. "It doesn't get easier. It gets different. The sharp edges smooth out. The weight becomes something you can carry, but you never stop missing them. You never stop wishing they were here. How do you keep going? She touched the photograph on her collar. Because they can't. Because every day I wake up is a day Damon didn't get. So I make it count. I make it matter. I live for both of us. Marcus looked at the photograph. His brother's smile, frozen in time. 25 years old, forever. I'm trying to make it count. You are, baby. You are. The crowd began to disperse. The ceremony was over. The day's work was waiting. But Marcus stood with his mother for another moment. Just the two of them, holding on to each other and the memory of the person they'd lost. That evening, Marcus went to his mother's house. He went down to the basement for the second time in a week. The model train layout covered a 12-foot table that Damon had built himself. Mountains and valleys, tiny houses and miniature people. Tracks that wound through tunnels and over bridges. It was dusty. Some of the pieces had shifted over the years, but it was still beautiful. Marcus pulled up a chair and sat at the edge of the table. He picked up a cloth and began to dust. He worked for hours, cleaning each piece, adjusting the tracks, replacing a few cars that had fallen over. His hands moved carefully, reverently touching what his brother had touched. At midnight, he connected the power supply and flipped the switch. The trains began to move. Around and around they went. Through the mountains, past the tiny houses, over the bridges and through the tunnels. Marcus watched them with tears streaming down his face. I finished it, he whispered, just like I promised. The trains kept moving. The tiny world kept turning. And somewhere Marcus believed his brother was watching. I'm going to keep building, he said to the empty room. The department, the oversight board, the training programs, all of it. I'm going to build something you would have been proud of. He wiped his eyes. And every time I feel like giving up, every time the weight gets too heavy, I'm going to come down here and watch these trains. I'm going to remember what you taught me. That the beautiful things are worth the effort. That the details matter. That you keep building even when you can't see the end. The trains completed another loop. I love you, Damon. I'll always love you. Marcus sat there until the sun came up, watching the trains, remembering his brother, planning the work ahead. When he finally left, he didn't turn off the power. He let the trains keep running. Let the tiny world keep moving. Because that's what Damon would have wanted. And that's what Marcus was going to do. Keep moving. Keep building. Keep fighting. For his brother. For the 43 families. For everyone who would walk into Westbrook Police Station asking for help. 1 year after his swearing-in, Chief Marcus Thompson had rebuilt a corrupt department from the ground up. He had brought justice to dozens of families. He had created systems that would protect people for generations to come. But he wasn't done. He would never be done. Because the work of justice doesn't end. It continues. Day after day. Case after case. Life after life. And Marcus Thompson would be there for all of it. His brother's keeper. His city's protector. His department's conscience. The trains kept running in Margaret Thompson's basement. The plaque hung on the door of the Damon Thompson reflection room. The oversight board met every week with Ruth Mae Johnson at the helm. And every morning, Chief Marcus Thompson walked into Westbrook Police Station and got to work. Because he had made a promise. To his brother. To his mother. To 43 families. To an entire city that had been failed for too long. And Marcus Thompson always kept his promises. The night Officer Craig Mitchell attacked him, Marcus's face had gone white with pain, and his blood had stained the interrogation room floor. But he had stood up. He had spoken the truth. He had become the leader his department needed. Now Mitchell's face was the one that had gone white, hearing those 4 words that destroyed everything he thought he was. I'm the new chief. 4 words that changed a department. 4 words that honored a brother. 4 words that proved that justice, though delayed, could never be denied. And in the years to come, when people asked how Westbrook Police Station had transformed from a place of corruption and violence to a model of community policing, the answer was always the same. It started with a man who walked through the front door with no badge and no protection. It started with an officer who chose to record the truth instead of looking away. It started with a mother who never stopped believing her son deserved justice. It started with 43 families who refused to let their loved ones be forgotten. It started with a brother who loved trains and called for help and died believing the police were the good guys. And it continued with every officer who put on the badge and remembered what it was supposed to mean. Protect, serve, honor. Not some people, not the easy ones, not the ones who looked right or talked right or fit some narrow definition of deserving. Everyone. That was Damon Thompson's legacy. That was Chief Marcus Thompson's mission. And that was the promise of a department reborn. A promise kept every single day. Until justice wasn't just a word on a wall, but a reality in every interaction, every call, every moment when someone needed help, and the police were there to provide it. That was the story of Westbrook Police Station. That was the story of a brother's love. That was the story of how one man's courage changed everything. And the trains kept running.